Welcome back to Trade You for the Fruit Punch, episode 13, lucky number 13. Today is Tuesday, December 6th, and we are through the round of 16, which we will get to. Couple random thoughts. Went to the Flyers game last night, so I did not have to watch that debacle of a Sixers game. It was a lot of fun. The Colorado Avalanche scored in the first 3 minutes of the game and looked like they were going to annihilate us. We ended up being up 4-1, and they scored 2 goals like in the last 3 minutes, and we got an empty netter, so we won 5-3. A lot of fun. Those guys are so talented. Like, to be able to skate backwards and worry about a puck and hands and checking and knocking people out, like, holy shit, that sport's pretty amazing. Doesn't mean
I tried to ice skate one single and fractured my wrist.
Yeah, you were
once. Horrible. That's all.
Once.
All it took.
Yeah. So I had a lot of fun. We're gonna end up going to one of these games coming up. Sat sixth row, like sort of like a few sort of seats over from the goal. So like in front of us, we saw it was great, and then on the other side we couldn't see shit, but it was still a lot of fun. And you could I want to be even closer, but we'll figure that out. I had another random thought, by the way. So the national anthem.
If you can't tell, we are rushing. He's talking very fast. There's a reason for that. He's like, we got 45 minutes. Go, go, go.
Yeah, we do have 45 minutes. We're going to see if we can do it. We're going to have to do it. We're going to have to cut ourselves off.
Literally no chance.
No, we're going to have to do it. So
I give it a 3% chance of happening.
Well, but we're not going to do 12 minutes of random thoughts. We're only going to do 11 and a half minutes of random thoughts. I actually don't have that many. But I was watching our national anthem, the United States national anthem, has a lot of O'ers, O apostrophe ER. And I don't think most people understand that does not mean for, F-O-R. So the last line of our national anthem, or the land of the free and the home of the brave. Most people, including one Tyler Adams, sings it for the land of the free and the home of the brave. No.
Not the correct word.
Not the correct word. Now, I will grant you there were too many ors. And who the hell speaks that way? But it is not for. And I actually need people to get it right. It's a pet peeve. I don't like it. Oh, those are my random thoughts. Flyers game.
It's a pet peeve.
It's a pet peeve.
So I have a random thought.
Now, we'll get into Morocco a little bit later. But you have a random thought. You did not share it with me and preview it with me prior to us starting this recording. So I'm interested to hear this random thought.
So we talked a few episodes ago about a certain essay I was going to write. A Phillies dancing on my own essay for my music class. The grade is in. It was a 100. And not
100
only
out
that,
of 100 or out of like 150?
It was
Okay.
And not only that, I may or may not have hit slightly inebriated.
Really? So I don't like the sound of that.
I had an event that night that I went to. I had a little fun. I won't say what kind of fun, but I'll let everyone at home figure that out for themselves. And I came back, and I was very aware of the fact I had to write this essay. I was telling people at the event, really excited to go back and write this paper. I just want to see what happens. And if ever there was a paper to write slightly inebriated, it's a paper on dancing on my own. And it worked out in my favor.
I'm just going to leave it at you got 100, and we're not going to go anywhere near that topic of discussion on this podcast because we've had this conversation about your schoolwork, and I'm giving you a lot of freedom until you give me a reason not to give you that freedom.
Listen, I just told you I got a 100.
I understand. and I am not pleased with the state of mind you were in when you wrote said paper.
I was
But
perfectly, if anything, I was working at a faster pace than I usually do. Brain already works very fast.
so please don't get that twisted and start drinking heavily prior to having to write papers or taking tests.
Drinking. I said it. We're trying to keep this family friendly, sir.
Fine, sir.
Everyone on this podcast knows we're very family friendly.
We are very fucking family fucking friendly. Fuckity fuck. Sorry, I had to go there. All right, so random thoughts over. We'll go Eagles, Phillies, Sixers.
You did not watch, if I had to guess. Did you watch the Eagles?
I did watch the Eagles. Yeah, it was in between. So
Same time as England, Senegal.
But I will tell you, so it was not on my 49-inch screen with 2 games on. It was in the living room. 65-inch TV, England, Senegal. 11-inch iPad, Eagles.
So I would make fun of you, but I was in a hotel room where they didn't have the Eagles game on, so I had tiny little phone, Eagles, hotel TV, England, Senegal.
Fair enough.
But I was paying
so you did
more
the same
attention to the Eagles game.
And the Eagles game was over pretty early on. I was actually surprised by Eagles, Phillies. We do have some Phillies news. We'll
do have some brief.
Sixers, which I wish we didn't have to talk about. And then we'll get into the World Cup and my summarized notes from the USA game, and then also some notes on other games because we'll get into
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet. Eagles. 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 11-1. How about them Eagles?
So this was a very necessary win. And when I say win, I more so mean performance. Because they've had some ugly games the last 3 weeks, right? It went Commanders lost, Colts scrape win, and then Green Bay last week, where as ugly as the previous 2 games, but it still was not pretty. This game, I felt, other than a few times where I was going on a walk at one point during the game early on, and I looked away for 3 seconds after the Titans had punted the ball, and somehow they had the ball back again. So I was a little confused by that. But other than that, I never felt that we were in any danger during this game. A.J. Brown was amazing. And after we beat Green Bay pretty much solely on last week, proving that you can then have a really dangerous pass offense as well was really important. And they came out, and Jalen Hurts looked incredible. A.J. Brown got 2 touchdowns. Devontae Smith got 1. Like, I thought everything went to plan today.
Sunday. So I think we've all realized, we all understand the offense is pretty damn good. And it's really pick your poison, right? Which one? Do you want us to beat you on the ground? You want us to beat you through the air? We could do either one. The defense played pretty damn well, right? I mean, they were up against the guy.
They stopped Derrick Henry.
Petrified me, right? We talked about this, and that guy is amazing. He's a beast. And they stopped him. And they stopped that offense. And so...
And I will say, it wasn't what I thought Jordan Davis coming back was going to be like the catalyst, and that was what we were hanging our hopes on. I think he played very few snaps. Like, really. It was like 3. And he looked good in those 3 snaps, but it was 3 snaps.
Yeah, so why, obviously, why would you preview that with me so I could look up the stat and actually give you how many snaps he played? And why would you actually look it up rather than just say, I think it was just 3? And that's winging it, and we're not about winging it here. We're about doing the research,
I am.
Ari.
No, that's you, and I'm a winger. I like to wing it.
So, look, Eagles, This week we play the Giants.
Giants. Who
Home or
tied?
away? Who tied? I think a tie is a cop-out. Both teams should get losses if they tie. Like, that shouldn't even be a result.
I actually heard, so I was watching Pardon My Week, and they said that the way they should do it is the next game those two teams play, if it's a divisional game, should be worth both games.
I actually like that.
Which would be so much fun. Can you imagine having to watch the Giants and Commanders play for 2 games? And that one should have multiple overtime periods until someone wins.
I like it.
2 losses.
What do you mean you give both teams 2 losses for tying a game?
If they tie the second game, do you just say fuck you both? Get 2 losses.
Well, yeah, I mean, if the rule is both teams get a loss for a tie, then if they tie twice, they get 2 losses, sure. But they're never going to do that. Although I would love to see another tie. Wouldn't that be amazing? Like, that would be unprecedented. That would be something that had never happened before, ever. Now, obviously, the tie rule is fairly new. Used to just keep playing, I think. And then they eventually realized that was stupid. But I think a tie is even more stupid. So they need to figure something out. Maybe you start kicking field goals from like 20 yards out and you just keep increasing the distance until you get to like 65 yards.
I like that.
Right. Maybe I just came up with that. Which, by the way, they're talking about the World Cup and 48 teams. I have a solution to it. Because the thing is, they want to do 16 groups of 3, which nobody likes. Because the whole beauty of the World Cup is that third game when all 4 teams are playing. And so I have a solution. 12 groups of 4 teams. The third place, so the first 2 get in, so that's 24, right? You need 8 more teams. What you do, though, is you have, and I know they're not playing the same teams, but with the pots, you're essentially trying to keep the pots fairly even, the groups fairly even, right? And so you take the top 8 teams, they automatically sort of become the 1 seeds. And then what you do is you play the 3rd seeds in all 16 groups. So there's 12 groups. I think my numbers are off. I had it in my head. I was perfect
with you, and then I could see them getting mixed up in your brain.
Yeah,
and you lost it.
No, so what you would do? No, I don't know. Now I have no clue.
You could do a playoff. You could do like a 3rd place.
Well, I think you have the 3rd place team. Yeah, but the thing is, it takes too much time. And you can't have these teams playing 90 minutes and then turning around 2 days later and playing 90 minutes again, even though you finished third. So you shouldn't.
There you go. Right. Don't finish
so
third.
They've got to figure out a playoff with the 3rd place teams where they then play, they play one another, and the winners of those games then get to play into the round of 32. Because that's what you're trying to get to, is a round of 32.
So then my question becomes, can a 2nd seed in the group be like the home 1 seed against the 3rd team, or would you do the 2s play each other and 1 plays 3?
1 plays 3 with some 1s playing some 2s, I think, because the numbers don't add up. So I have to like play around with the numbers a little bit more, but I think there should be a play-in game. So I'll get back to you. There should be a play-in game for those 3 seeds, because the groups of 4, like, they are necessary. Groups of 3 is fucking stupid. So now let's move on.
We have skipped ahead for no reason, but
yeah, we did skip ahead to the World Cup, but we were talking about like losses and crazy shit, so I figured I'd throw that in now. So the Phillies made a move yesterday. And normally we don't talk about the Phillies in the offseason, but
they signed the best shortstop in baseball for 11 years, $300 million, with a essentially Bryce Harper contract. Low AAV, so that you can go towards signing more players and making the team better.
So
they are $34 million under the 2nd luxury tax threshold.
So I know they're around $250 million. I don't. the NBA has taught me something where even shitty contracts can get sent somewhere. Now I know he's got a no trade clause, but when he's 37 years old and he's got 3 years left on his contract, maybe they buy him out. Maybe the cap is 300 million. Maybe the world has ended. Like, who the fuck?
No, that's
knows?
what I was going to say. 2032 doesn't exist. Fuck 2032. I'm worried about 2023.
I used to worry about draft picks. I used to worry about, like, when it came to the NBA, about draft picks and about law. Like, we were able to trade Al Horford.
You don't believe in draft picks. You're weird.
I don't believe in draft picks, but I don't like giving them up. But if we were able to trade Al Horford's horrible contract, then you know what? Any contract can be traded, and you can turn a franchise around essentially in 2 or 3 years. And so the Phillies, where Bryce Harper and Trey Turner in like 2030 will both need like walkers when they're wheeling themselves out to fucking the field.
Great. And you can't have clap for them.
Who cares? If we win a World Series, let alone multiple, I'm cool with that. I've always said,
this is the best batting order in baseball now. And also, you've surrounded Bryce Harper with like
his buddies.
8 of Bryce Harper's best friends.
Well, that makes him play better.
The best, yeah.
I'm okay with that. I think I would rather have a situation where for a 5 or 6 year period we win a bunch and then we suck for 5 or 6 years. I'm okay with that rather than like mediocrity or kind of look, the Sixers were down this path with the process and then the NBA fucked us and made us.
Here we go.
They made us fire Sam Hinkie and hire the fucking Colangelos. And look where it got us. It got us to today where we fucking suck. And I think now Phillies are done. We signed Trey Turner, 11 years, $300 million. He'll be 300 years old.
We're done. Let's move on.
Move on. I'm going to the Sixers. And thank God I was at the Flyers game last night, and I did not watch.
And then we can move on.
This fucking debacle. I read about it on the Atlantic.
I don't want a 20-minute process rant, so I'm gonna talk about this game. I'm gonna try to be as calm as I can. No promises, but
James Harden fucking sucks.
So James Harden fucking sucks. The Halliburton trade was the correct one. But Daryl Morey's ex-fetish has screwed this team time and time again. And I would like for Doc and Morey to be fired. I'd like them both to be fired. If you told me, like, you can just trade Joel, Harden, not Maxey because he's young, so why would you trade him? But you can trade all those guys, get a bunch of draft picks, and become a rebuilding team. I might take that. I might. Like, the Orlando Magic are fun. There's a bunch of just, like, players that you like watching and are fun to root for, and they lose every game, so you get a high draft pick. And, like, if I could switch positions with the Orlando Magic, I might take it.
Are you actually at the stage where you would trade Joel?
I don't know because I love Joel. I really do, and it would suck to see him somewhere else. But I also know that, like, under Doc and with Morey's team building, like, this team isn't winning anything. So it's basically, like, I'm just keeping Joel around because I like him a lot. And at that point, that's just sentimentality. And it's, like, actively working to the detriment of the team. Even though he's the only player doing anything.
Well, Tobias had a big night last night.
Tobias was good. By the way, Tobias having a great night in double overtime. 27 points.
27 points. But guess how many points
quarters
PJ Tucker had?
3.
3 points.
He scored a free throw.
He scored 3 points. Matisse had 0, which...
Wait, I thought he had 4. I swear
No,
he
he had
scored
3.
a free throw.
I believe he had... I'm looking at the box score. He had 3. I don't know what to tell you.
I remember seeing him... Maybe they counted that 3 too, because I remember seeing him hit a corner 3, and then he got fouled from 3 and made 1 out of 3 free throws.
So do we get chicken if he misses like 2 out of 3? We should, right?
I don't think so.
I mean, it was an away game.
I also don't know what the ruling is. If I miss 3 out of 3, is that more than missing 2 out of 2? And also, if you miss 2, does that get you the chicken?
I don't know if they've thought through all the permutations.
I don't think.
Well, but I've also always said that the way they phrase it is the player has to miss 2 in a row. So technically, you could miss your second free throw and then go back to the line and miss your first, and you've missed 2 in a row. So they've never really phrased it the right way.
What if you
unless they've changed
if you miss your first and then you score your second and then you miss your third, does that not count then? Even if
I don't think that would count. But if you missed your first and second out of 3, I think that would count, or your second and third.
Interesting.
I don't know.
See, these are the kinds of people come here for. Yeah, but
this team sucks. They're so boring to watch, and I didn't even watch them. And I didn't even watch it last night's game.
I watched it. It was miserable for me.
I think they need to fire Doc today. It needs to be done.
I do have a question though. I have a question. Is this the lowest that you've been as a Sixers fan? Is this worse than 10 wins? I'd argue
this is way worse. No, it's way worse because 10 wins.
Because you're going to lose.
Well, yeah. So
and every win you have is amazing.
My expectation with the 10-win team, and wasn't it 9-73? It wasn't 10-72. I think it was 9-73.
10-72.
Oh, well, okay. So
thinking of the Warriors flipped.
It may have been. So my expectation of the process years was that we would suck and that we were building to something. And so my expectation now is that we built to something and that the fruits of my labor, right, would come good. They haven't, and this team is mediocre at best. And I don't want to watch them. I preferred watching the team when all 3 of our superstars were out. When Tobias was our superstar. I enjoyed it. I watched the NBA 4 games.
Or the Sixers specifically could go on a World Cup style break like I've gotten with Tottenham. I've never been so calm entire life because there's no Tottenham. I've basically, the last 2 years, I've all but given up on the Sixers anyway. And the only team I really
until now.
The only team I really care about is the Eagles, and they're doing well. They're 11-1. What else do I need? So I would like for the Sixers to go on an extended hiatus, coinciding with Tottenham's extended hiatus.
You know that hiatus is only 3 more weeks.
I know, it's miserable. I saw Tottenham tweet today about a lineup for our first game back. And I was like, someone needs to put a trigger warning on this because I had a genuinely volatile reaction to seeing it.
I don't pay attention right now to what Tottenham is tweeting. I will look forward to when they get back. I miss it. I miss the angst and the turmoil and the general malaise around watching a Tottenham game, anticipating a game, seeing the lineups come out, thinking, fuck, Emerson's playing again, and then watching Emerson play again, and then the euphoria around him being substituted for it doesn't matter who. The range of emotions, it's what is it, the 5 stages of grief? It's the 5 stages of Tottenham. We've got to figure out the 5 stages of Tottenham. That's what I'm going to take. I'm going to take notes. For next time, we're going to do the 5 stages of Tottenham, right? It's kind of like the 12 days of Christmas and the 8 days of Hanukkah. It's going to be the 5 stages of Tottenham. And we're going to base it off the 5 stages of grief. And I think we're going to be on to something.
I think
I'm
the
excited.
grief is every stage, though. It's just a different kind of grief.
Don't tell. I'm going to do a little research. And we're going to get there for the next pod.
What research to do?
I need to like I do a lot of research. I want to read up on the 5. I don't know the 5 stages of grief. Like I've heard about them. I don't know what they are. I didn't memorize them.
Oh.
You memorized them?
I mean, not the words, but like the actual, right? You go from sadness to anger to bargaining to, like.
Okay, so I'm going to adapt those 5 to the 5 stages of Tottenham. And that's going to be our, and then every week we should think about our 5 stages and how we reacted to the game based on the 5 stages.
When Emerson got substituted, that was
so
my
it
3
can't
second
be.
right there.
So what I'll tell you is it can't be about Emerson because he can't be a stage of Tottenham, but it can be about the one guy who nobody wants to start.
Yeah. All right.
We've spent a lot of time on Tottenham. So now let's get to the World Cup. Are we ready for the World Cup?
We are ready for the World Cup.
I am excited. What I've realized is that my ability to pick winners is absolute and total shit.
It's just solely based on like vibes. Like I don't like.
By the way, another random thought. I watched MMA on Saturday, and Wonderboy Thompson. No, the main event in the UFC on Saturday. You may want to go back. It was the best fight of all time. These two guys were literally just punching the fucking shit out of each other.
Isn't that?
And when they would go down, no, but UFC there's grappling and there's like, molesting and there's all kinds of like shit going on, like fondling and ball hunting and all kinds of stuff that like isn't supposed to, gouging and biting. These two guys, the second one of them would hit the ground, the other one would kind of pop up and look at the guy and like motion for him to get up, and then they would start wailing and punching each other. It was fucking amazing. It was the best fight I've ever watched, to the point where like my heart rate, I think I worked out watching them. My heart rate was so high. Anyhow, so we're on the World Cup.
We're going to go in order.
And we're going to go in order.
Skip it. I know you want to talk about Morocco, but that was the second.
Morocco!
We have to start with the U.S.
So USA, Netherlands. So I've got a high-level point about the U.S. And what I'll say is I don't understand why this particular team has changed the narrative on U.S. soccer. They're talking about this, right? This team, they didn't.
They didn't.
They didn't. Now, I think because we weren't at the World Cup 4 years ago, people forget, like getting out of the group stage for the U.S. should be a given. And this team did what they were supposed to do, which is get out of the group stage. Get to the quarterfinals, get to the semifinals, and you'll change the narrative. This team was not good enough, period. They were young. They were hungry. They weren't good enough. And for me, they did not change the narrative.
It also seemed to me like Berhalter's only want from this tournament was his only goal was get out of the group stage. Like it wasn't just that the narrative shouldn't be that they changed it because it's expected to get out of the group stage, but it's the achievement they set out for as a team.
And I think they talked
not
about
just
it.
As fans.
Well, so what I'll tell you is I think they talked about it with the Fox guys and girls and essentially said, like, you guys need to also push this agenda. And that's what they did. So on Fox, Landon Donovan, all of them, right? They were all talking about how this what?
You forgot the names.
I forgot the names. I'm put on the spot.
Lalas and Dempsey.
Lalas, yeah. Alexi Lalas, who's horrible. And Clint Dempsey, my boy, who I actually like. So Dempsey actually, what I'll tell you is he got better as a commentator, as like a guy, as an analyst. He's gotten better as the World Cup has moved along. The first few days, he
Oh, it was
was
so bad.
oof. It was hard
He
to
was
watch.
hilariously bad.
He was bad, and he got better. But here's a few thoughts. So Pulisic is actually no Landon Donovan. And the problem is in the US, people don't really understand soccer, and I'm sorry they don't, because they look at Pulisic and they say, he's at Chelsea. Landon Donovan couldn't make it at Everton, right? Because Donovan was there, he trialed, he played a little bit. Couldn't make it in Germany, because I think he went to Germany as well before that. The reality was Landon Donovan, from a mental well-being standpoint, did not want to be in Europe. But Landon Donovan is a much better player than Christian Pulisic. And it's hands down. Pulisic is not good enough to lead this team.
I feel about Pulisic the way that you and I talk about CJ McCollum. If CJ McCollum is your first option, there is no chance you are doing anything. If CJ McCollum is your second option, there is no chance. At best, Christian Pulisic should be your third or fourth best player. He's just not good. Like, yeah, he scored the goal to get us through, but I couldn't really tell you he had a good tournament because I don't think he did. He didn't lead the team the way he was supposed to.
So what I will say, like, there are certain players that will like they're expected to be there in 2026, right? Pulisic is one, Dest, Robinson, Tyler Adams, Weah, Musa. Like there's a bunch. There's like 10 of them that will be there. The problem is the other 15 guys that make up a team just are not good enough. And we talked about the keepers and the ones that were kind of just taking up space on this team. So I think we also need to take a step back. And so we talk about Pulisic. We talk about Tyler Adams, who he was good during the group stage. He was really bad in this game.
A really terrible
bad game.
At fault for all 3 goals in my mind. At least.
So I think you're being harsh. He was definitely at fault for the first one, and that set the tone for the whole game. I think he was tired. Look, it's inexcusable. It's your 4th game. You're 23 years old, 22 years old. You can handle a 4th game in 15 days or whatever it was. So I don't give him a pass for that, but I kind of give him a pass because he was really good in the group stages. The tactics were horrible.
Yes.
And so you don't have, and we'll use numbers, you don't have a number 9. A number 9 is a flat-out striker. A guy in the front, a Harry Kane, where Harry Kane was actually playing the number 9 role 2-3 years ago, right? You don't have a number 9. And you don't have...
Except for Haji,
and even if you did, and scored the goal...
Ferreira, who's even worse.
And that was, I thought Ferreira should start. He was terrible. But the problem was, like they had Dest come in. They had Weah play wide. They didn't play enough to the Blind side, the Daily Blind side, who's 300 years old and cooked. He was cooked in the 5th minute, right? They didn't play enough on our right, their left. And what they did was they lobbed these high balls in against a 6'8" keeper and a 6'5" center back. And Ake is also not short, right?
Yes, he is. I think he's like...
Is he that short?
I think
but you have 6'5" Virgil van Dijk next to you. And so you're playing
number 9 in the box who's tall enough. That's the real issue.
The only time they scored was when Pulisic fizzed one in, right? And Haji Wright got a foot to it and fluked the goal. But they should have been doing that all game, and they weren't doing that all game, and that's Berhalter's fault. And oh, by the way, they kept talking about how they hired the set-piece guy. Well, that guy should be fired.
Yes.
Because
I'm glad
their set pieces were atrocious, right? Like the set-piece guy, there's a set-piece guy at Tottenham, and they love him.
Right. He's the only guy doing his job well.
Fantastic. He's the only guy who's actually earning his keep. The set-piece guy for the U.S. was I don't even know what his name is. They keep talking about him they've got to mention him to me 300 more times for me to remember his name. I don't remember his name. He should be fired. But this team, like, so the defense needs improving. I actually think the wings, Dest and Robinson, will be starting in 2026, barring injury. And they will get better.
I hope not. I don't
They're
think
fine.
good enough.
No,
Fine
I think they'll be good.
No, but you
I
said
think
you
they'll
wanted
be
to
good
make
in
a quarter. You said you wanted to make a quarter or semifinal. And if you want to make a quarter or semifinal, you can't afford to have fine at right.
No,
left,
I think
which are really
so. I think
important modern day
Robinson
positions.
and Dest will be good players in 4 years, and if they are not starting, it means we've got outstanding wings, right? I mean, defenders on the right and the left hand side.
Their inability to track runners and cover one is why we conceded 3 goals.
I think and here's the other thing is Matt Turner kind of won me over. He's herky-jerky. He's a little unorthodox. He's little
28.
strange.
Did you know he's 28?
I figured based on the years that he had been out of school and how he like didn't make his I figured he was in his late 20s. No, I figured he was in his late 20s. Look, I don't love that he's at Arsenal, and I won't root for him again until 2026. But I thought he did a good job.
I think he'll be there in 2026.
I think he will.
I thought he did a decent job, but I think he will have the exact same problem as Zach Steffen in that he's a backup keeper for a team with a set number 1 keeper, room for moving, because that keeper is relatively young. He will not play.
He won't play.
And will have a new Zach Steffen by that point.
And that's fine. But if he's the guy, he's good. And I would be fine with him. Again, I know I'm using the word fine. I'd be fine with him as my keeper in 2026. I'd actually be okay with Robinson and Dest as my left and right wing, defenders respectively. We need a whole new central defense. I don't think Cameron Carter-Vickers is, anything special, nor do I think the two guys.
Odd, but I don't think he'll be a starter. His shit will be 39 and is already
right. No, Reem won't. Reem actually he had a good tournament. He was a stopgap, and he had a decent tournament. And of the guys on this team, he was one of my favorites to watch. I enjoy, and I like watching him at Fulham as well. But we need attackers. We need a striker. We need central defenders. I'm sorry, but the midfield is not going to change. That midfield that you saw.
The midfield is the same problem I have with Tottenham, where those guys will put together good performances in terms of running and breaking up plays like that. But I mean, where's the I guess has technical ability, but where's the creativity? Where's it coming from? It's not coming from the attackers. They're all just runners.
So I think you need, and I'm not
need a Brendan Aronson, Gio Reyna. You need those guys.
Right. Those guys, and they'll be 4 years. So I think the other thing this team needs, and we talked about this a little bit, they need an enforcer. They need someone who is just going to, in the first 5 minutes.
I want to say it.
Go for it.
They need a Michael Bradley.
They do. They need a Michael Bradley.
Now you can explain, but I just wanted to say the name.
No, it's true.
I'm the one who brought it up, and I'm proud of it.
It was a really good point, and they need a guy who is going to just cleat somebody, pretend like he didn't do anything wrong, and send a message. And so, again, if you watch the Redeem team, when Kobe ran through Pau Gasol in 2008, he sent a fucking message. Now, he also had the skill. I don't actually need the guy to have a skill. I just need the guy to be able to run box to box, tackle everything in sight, and essentially crunch a few early on to send the message that it's not going to be an easy game. And we didn't have that. Didn't exist on this team.
Creativity, which was a huge problem as well. The wingers
Right.
are really just like kind of want to be strikers, but don't actually want the like independence of being a lone striker. But neither one of them is really like the Kulusevski type winger where you create and score and do everything. And obviously, you're never going to get a guy like that on the U.S. But
right. I mean, that's you're talking world class, and we don't have any world class players. People will tell you Pulisic is one. We don't have any world class players.
We don't have anyone even close. But we
did 8 years ago. We had Dempsey. We had Landon Donovan. We had Tim Howard was a world. I mean, they were better than these guys. And the 14 team was better than this team.
They were better than these guys, but I don't throw out the word world class easily. Like, if you asked me, I think there are 5 world class players in the Premier League, like in total.
Fair.
Like,
that's fair.
Like, really world class is a huge term to me, but
that's fair.
I certainly think those guys were better than these guys.
So, Premier League caliber starters, right? Those guys are better than these guys. You're right. World class is a little bit different. Now, a few Dutch notes, like I don't rate De Jong. I don't see what. Maybe I'm missing something.
Boasts a little bit. He's got a little bit of that Harry Kane syndrome in him.
I don't understand how a guy like Klaassen, who essentially, like, shave it off, buddy. I mean, you look like you should be playing Sunday League football with your dad bod and, I mean, balding head.
So he's a stopgap. I think they wanted Wijnaldum, but I think he's injured and stuff.
Yeah, he must be. Now, normally I would have a For Him's advertisement right now. We're not going to do that because we don't have the time.
Look,
Dumfries is good. Ake is basic.
Dumfries had a fine game, but this is where people fooled. First of all, internationals should not determine buying players at club level. And I've seen a lot of people calling for him at Tottenham, and he's Emerson, but like maybe his instinct attacking wise is a little bit better, but like he can't put in a ball. He's got no technical ability. He's all athleticism. Like, you tell me what's different between him and Emerson.
I think there's a lot. I mean, come on. Emerson is one of the worst players in the 5.
No, like he's dumb as Emerson, but that's like the only thing.
So I don't agree with you there. But I think in the interest of time, we've got to move on. And so, look, Argentina, we both picked. They dispatched with Australia pretty easily. I know the score was closer than you'd expect it to be.
It looked like the last however long in the game was close-ish. Like, it never looked like they were going to lose. But I also didn't think they looked totally unbeatable, even by Australia. It was a little worrisome, but I wouldn't read too much into it.
No, I agree. So the England game. England, I think. It's the Sunday games. We had
Australia.
Poland.
Sorry.
Again, I mean, the French look.
I don't really even have anything to say. They looked better than I gave them credit for, but like I still don't love this team.
So I think their defense is a little bit weak. I think Giroud is actually so. We talk about world class, and like we talked about it. No, I think Giroud does not get enough credit.
No, he doesn't. But he's definitely. Let's not. I don't know why you brought up the thing with world class before, because let's pump the brakes.
I think I love Giroud. I don't know why.
If we're talking about guys who don't get enough credit, and pointed at you specifically because we've When I was home for Thanksgiving break, you said this player's name to me and said, I don't know what he does. Antoine Griezmann is kind of the heart of this team. He keeps things ticking.
I don't know if I saw that. I don't know if I. In other words, I don't know if I agree with that.
It's one of those things where people say, like, if you watch the game, you don't see Busquets, but if you see the game. It's kind of an attacking version of that.
Well, it sounds like, what is it? The Argentinian guy who essentially De Palma. No, it's not De Palma. DePaul, who essentially like does all the dirty work for Messi, so Messi can walk around, right? Because that's what Messi does. Look, I
want
think,
to talk about England, Senegal, and we're kind of at a crunch for time because of you. I don't have anything to say about this game, to be honest.
So I have a couple things to say. What I'll say is, Senegal had some chances early on. They score first, whole different world. But who saved them was Jordan Pickford. And you know what? Forget the fact that he has alligator arms and he's 6'1". Jordan Pickford's a pretty fucking good goalie.
Arms. T-Rex.
That's fine. But
we always argue about this. It's T-Rex.
And I call it alligator. He is, to me, he's like, so he's an enforcer. No, but there's something about him. He's fiery.
Well, I know what it is that you like about him. Every time Pickford makes a save, every time Pickford has to do his job, he yells at his defense. And you love it. And I love it. I think it's great because, like, he's kind of right. If the defense does their job, he shouldn't have to do his job.
No,
so he has the right time he does his job. Even if
he does, but there's something about him. Look, he puts his body on the line. There's actually been a few articles about him in The Athletic. And I wrote this before I read those articles where he brings like a fieriness. He and Jordan Henderson. And I think those two need to start. I mean, Pickford's not losing his place.
Henderson's bad.
Jordan Henderson.
No, this is the thing. We said this.
Jordan Henderson's kind of the enforcer on this team.
We said this about Tottenham too with Dyer and Højbjerg, and then they had a shit game the next game. Like, I don't ascribe to playing average players just because.
So I think they add a value to a team that is. You don't see it on the stat. I mean, look, Jordan Henderson scored, but I don't see anybody else really playing that position better than him. And I think he's the guy. He's kind of the engine. Like you said, Griezmann, Jordan Henderson to me is that guy for England. Now, I will say Jude Bellingham is, he is outstanding and likely just getting better.
He'll be
I may be wrong about England. Did not impress me all that much during. I know they scored more goals than anybody else. They didn't impress me all that much during the group stage, especially against the U.S. But I don't know.
Good. They looked good. I'll give them that. This England game will be very interesting to me, just because I seen games where they both look totally unbeatable. And I've seen games where they both look distinctly average. And all of those games have come this tournament. So it could go either way.
It could go either way. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. Look, it might be big tournament Southgate really has figured it out. Even without all the skill that.
Do you think? So I have to. Do you think that he intentionally loses games during qualifying and looks like shit during qualifying, just to throw people off?
No, I think he tinkers.
We're underdog. Iran.
I will tell you. I think he tinkers. I really do. I think he tinkers, and I think that leads to losses because he's trying stuff out for the tournament.
So are we done with? I feel like we're done with that game, right?
Yeah, so I think we've got to, and apologies, we do have to stop this pretty much in 5 minutes. And it will actually be the first time we're under an hour, maybe, when we didn't think we could be. So
listen.
So I want to
don't know.
I want to mention a few right. So Croatia, Japan, like they just find a way to win.
The second worst pack I've ever seen. Second only to the Philadelphia Union.
Well,
that one was third.
So today there was a game.
Not yet. We have another game before then because we need to talk about
Brazil, South Korea.
Looked like the best team in the tournament.
They did until Portugal played today, and Portugal.
Yeah, but we don't believe in them.
We do not believe in them. Fuck Portugal.
We did both predict Switzerland, which is a little bit of a bad look.
Yeah. So what I'll say about Brazil, though, is Allison had to make some saves. The defense was a little... maybe they turned it off.
I think every team has had to...
No, I know. And I think they did turn it off a little bit after the 4 goals. Richarlison looked great.
Richarlison might come back as the tournament's top scorer.
And he might... I mean, do we play him as our out-and-out number 9 then? And move Kane over to the side? Right?
Play Kane on the wing.
Do we play Kane in the Højbjerg role?
I think we should drop Kane. Get rid of him completely. Sell him.
Conte hasn't given that guy a minute off in a year and a half, and now we're talking about dropping him. So
I need England to get knocked out soon so that he can just sit on his couch for the rest of the
we do need
tournament.
Bentancur got a few weeks extra off. That's great. I love it. Sonny's now out.
He's got a 3 to 4 week injury period,
which is perfect. He needs some rest. The guy was running on fumes at the end of the season or the end of the period before. So we've got to go. I have a point to make about the Spain-Morocco game because that's where we are. And we're rolling over Portugal. Nobody gives a shit. Switzerland looked like, a high school team. So I need to explain, this country, Morocco, they hate our people. And I did some research. There were 265,000 Jews in Morocco in 1948 when we got independence, when Israel got independence. There are now close to 2,500 Jews in the country. They've all left.
You love them, but you love them.
Now, if they were so great to the Jews would have stayed there. But yet, I am half Moroccan. And every fiber in my being was excited when Morocco won. And I could tell you exactly where each penalty was going to go.
Me too. I was doing it. We were in the cafeteria, and I was calling them out as we went along. People were...
And the goalie could tell you, too. And that guy was fucking a stud. He was talking shit. He was messing with them.
You didn't know him. I did.
He was great. And Spain looked, besides the chance they had in the 123rd minute, because they had a chance, they hit the post, right? Besides that chance, they looked like they did in 2018, which was hold the ball, dribble it around, pass it around, but there's no real chance of it going in. Now, Morocco defended really, really well. Spain looked uninventive, which was the same problem they had in 2018. And I feel like that style of play needs adapting, and Spain's not ready to adapt yet.
Yeah. So I was made to eat my words. I did say last time, though, they're either going to lose here or make it to the final. So
They lost here.
Kind of covered my bases. They lost here. As soon as I could tell as soon as the penalty came up, though, that it wasn't going to go well because they just picked the wrong guys. Pablo Sarabia isn't the right guy, and Carlos Soler isn't the right guy. I love Busquets pick, but as soon as he did the little stutter step, I was like, he's missing.
Every time he went wide, he really was going across his body. I will say
even more than that,
penalties
hang on.
were
Before
great.
we get to the Morocco ones, even more than that, once he does the little jump, he can't open his body and his foot enough to go to the right. So he's pigeonholed into going left.
Right.
And Boonu, and I know that watching it, and everyone knows it, but he still does the stutter step, hoping that. But as soon as he doesn't, it's over. And that was really disappointing. I run through it like every good penalty taker in the entire world does.
Right. Look, I don't love the stutter step, although Neymar did it well yesterday, right? So Neymar figured it.
Neymar's perfected it, to be fair.
Right.
But this is Sergio Busquets.
Yeah. Now, Ziyech and Hakimi, those two penalties were just baller penalties, right? Like big balls.
Hakimi one especially.
That's by the way, that guy.
Penalty.
I bet you that guy could play another 120 minutes. He is insanely good. He really is. He's outstanding. He is world class. And I don't think I'm exaggerating in the world. No, so we are now at the point in our episode for the punch of the week. And I'm going to go. Am I going to go first?
No, I'm first. I'm on the right.
Okay.
My punch of the week is us two fucking bozos who both picked Switzerland.
We did. And
we really overthought that one.
I mean, this bozo picked Senegal also, right? So what do I know?
At least my loss was like who was widely recognized as the better team. You picked you went a little overboard.
And I picked Japan over Croatia. So yeah. I still think I have a good shot of winning this whole thing, but my punch of the week is actually Minamino. Minamino. He set the tone in that Japan penalty kick shootout. He was the first taker. And he took one of the worst penalties I think I've ever seen. And they were destined to lose from that point on.
Hang on. Daniel Gazdag set the tone.
He did set the tone as well. He did. But that's
in the past. For me, Union is the worst I've ever seen. Then the Japan one. I thought they took worse penalties on average. And then the Spain.
They did.
Even though the Spain one missed 3 instead of where it won. So, but I thought they were worse.
With that, we bid you adieu.
Under an hour.
And I thank you for listening. And I thank you, Ari, as always.
God damn it.